Kia ora everyone, my name's Zach, I love rugby. Welcome back to Hakatime Rugby. Another chapter is about to be written in the historic rivalry between the All Blacks and the Springboks, guys. You're excited, I'm excited. I was going to leave it another day before I start my preview series, but we are starting right now. I am going to start building up towards this final with my preview series. I'm going to cover a lot of detail, guys, in this series. Tactics, selections, some of the nuances of the game as well. I apply a real analytical mindset in order to determine key factors in the game and ultimately to predict the winner. So stick with me on Hakatime Rugby, guys. Like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe if you want to be part of that build-up series. Now, one thing that has stood out to me already is the mutual respect between these two countries. Obviously, the players have a huge amount of mutual respect for each other, the coaching staffs as well, but what I'm noticing more and more in the YouTube comments is that you guys also have mutual respect for each other. So give yourselves a pat on the back. It's great to see a lot of positivity online and social media, and I expect nothing less from these two great teams. What is also clear is that since 1995, when these two met last in a final, these two teams have separated themselves as the top two teams in world rugby. That continues to this day, and we renew this historic rivalry with a final in the 2023 Rugby World Cup. I'm super excited. What I'm going to cover in this video, though, guys, is I'm going to assess the performance of the coaching staffs up until this point. How have they gone in the lead up to the Rugby World Cup and during the Rugby World Cup? And then I'm also going to predict the teams that will defend, that will challenge for the William Webb Ellis Trophy next Saturday. Let's get into it. First things first, the Springboks coaches. Now, the 6-2 split, the 7-1 split, the 5-3 split. Look, it's all innovation. So the 6-2 split was an innovation back in 2019. A lot of something that people forget, that one of the major benefits of the 6-2 split was an ability to rotate players to manage minutes during a long tournament like the Rugby World Cup. It was done so to great effect, resulting in the Springboks winning that title. Translate now to 2023. The 7-1 split became a thing just before the tournament and during the tournament to great effect against the All Blacks. The 5-3 split is now where we find ourselves. And what I find interesting about the 5-3 split is it enables the Springboks to play two separate styles. You've got the younger, attack-minded focus of Amani Labok, Kobus Reinach, Damian Willemse, and then you've got the generals, the game managers of Faf de Klerk, Andre Pollard, and a Willie Leroux there coming in off the bench. And it's been implemented to great effect to date. Two separate styles, delivered against France, and then when needed, you were able to bring on Andre Pollard into the game early in order to game manage and drive that performance home against England. Now, a lot's going to be made about the selections between Andre Pollard and Mani Lebok, but I think the 5-3 split, ultimately what it comes down to is ensuring that you have different resources available to you during difficult games. So go back to that game against France, and what did we see? We saw two separate styles of play and play. And when needed, the game managers, the generals, were able to come on and close out their game. Go and look at that game against England. And while Mani Lebok wasn't having his greatest performance, ultimately it came down to the style of play and a need to get someone like Andre Pollard on early in order to pull things back, to get back on track in terms of territory management, and ultimately close out the game. So I don't look at it as a Mani versus Andre, a Faf versus Kobus Reinach. It's more about having the different resources available to you to make key decisions when they're required. And that is innovation in rugby. Bench rotation, we saw it against France, rotating players to ensure that the forwards were well rested. Obviously got lucky a little bit with the yellow card. And what I mean by that is it enabled the Springboks to manage Eben Etzebeth's minutes, and therefore he could close out the full game minus those 10 minutes. So go back and watch that video if you haven't seen it around. That was high-level game management from both teams. But again, that is another reason why I think the Springboks coaches are doing so well. And then nailing the details. So in particular, the likes of, you have Cheslin Colby able to really drill in on Ramos's kicking performance and how he runs up and how he leads up, and ensuring that the trigger point of his run up is known, and do I have enough time to get there and charge down. Ultimately that resulted in a charge down that we could argue decided that match if you look at the point system, and a lot of people are saying that. So whether it's that, whether it's Dion Farid coming and covering, as a sort of flexible rotation between the two positions that he covers, whether it's the traffic light system, The Springboks coaches just really nail the little details and the key points, and for that reason, I think they're truly innovative. So Hakatime Rugby gives the Springboks coaches a rating of an A. A lot will be discussed around that performance there against England and whether or not Mani Libbok was the right selection. That's debatable. I go back to the point that really the Springboks ensure that they have resources available to them to pivot if they need to, but more importantly, they had the courage to pull the trigger early, and that is innovation, and that is fantastic. They get an A from Hakatime Rugby. Moving forward, and look, I thought we'll have a bit of fun with this because Mr. Ian Foster has taken a huge amount of criticism, and it is time for everyone to eat their words. This man has been ridiculed. He's been rubbished. Obviously, you know, the New Zealand public are unforgiving, and we demand the highest performance from the All Blacks. So a lot of pressure came in on Fozzie, and I think a little bit of it was a bit unfair. That's really to do with the age of social media, so be it. But what I thought I'd do with this is run through those common sort of myths, those talking points that people cover when they speak about Ian Foster and these All Blacks. Geordie Barrett is not a centre. I think he's proven that defensively in and around the ruck, saving tries. I've covered that on my reviews of games where, you know, as the last line of defense, he's been fantastic. He's also fantastic under the high ball. He's also a big body going through the line. He's also great in defense. He's also good at those crossfield kicks. He's a game manager. He's a big body, and he's a defender. So he is definitely a centre. Will Jordan is not a wing. Well, that man now has equaled the most tries in the Rugby World Cup. He looks like a wing to me. He can break tackles. He can finish, more importantly, which he does to great effect, and his strike rate is impeccable. Sam Cane is not good enough. Well, go back and watch that game against Ireland. He really led the charge. Before the game, in the tunnel, that man was locked in. He had a point to prove. He wanted his revenge, and he got it. He had his best game in a black jersey, and that man deserves everyone's praise. He deserves a pat on the back, and he deserves everyone's support. The scrum is too weak. Now, young scrummagers have come in. Ethan de Groot and Tyrell Lomax have found their spot, and now off the bench we've got Big Tamaiti Williams and we've got Fletcher Newell. It's taken a bit of rotations, it's taken a bit of finding, but now they have a young scrummaging unit that can compete with the best of them. And I'm going to cover the scrums and lineouts in detail on one of my preview shows, guys, so stick with me for that. The defense is too passive. I covered this in one of my videos. The All Blacks are currently using a compressed drift defense with a pendulum where Beauden Barrett is acting as that pendulum, defending either wing and going in between, and you have the drifting sort of defense coverage of an Aaron Smith and a Richie Mo'unga covering in the space just behind the line. So I'm going to go into this one in more detail as well, guys. I have spoken about it in the past, but to see the All Blacks innovate with their defense to the point where they can hold out 37 phases, fantastic. Too slow at the breakdown, Artie Savia, Sam Cane, and Shannon Frizzell. That is a settled lineup there. I think a really, really good combination and just a really good mix of players, physicality, athleticism, and experience. So, no longer slow at the breakdown. And the final thing, this is the worst All Blacks team in history. Well, guess what? Fozzie just took us to a Rugby World Cup final. Congratulations, Fozzie. Congratulations, All Blacks. Going to the big show with an opportunity to win it all. Congratulations. From Hakatime Rugby, the rating that I give the All Blacks coaches, and obviously Joe Schmidt, Jason Ryan made a huge impact here, but there's something about Fozzie that people forget, right? He was on the chopping block with the CEO of New Zealand Rugby, flying to South Africa to chop his head. You're out, mate. But what happened? The players came in and defended him. The reason why Fozzie is still in a job is because the players went to the CEO of New Zealand Rugby in Johannesburg when the All Blacks beat the Springboks and said, we want Fozzie. He has their support, he has their respect, and he deserves ours as a result. So, the rating I give the All Blacks coaches, an A- from Hakatime Rugby, to go through all of those challenges, to go through all of those outcomes, to now be in a World Cup final. Congratulations, guys. Moving forward, let's go to the team selections, possible selections between these two teams. I think the forwards are very, very, very obvious, so we'll get straight to that. Stephen Kitsoff, Bongi and Frans Malherbe, Eben Etzebeth, Franco Mostert, Sia Khaleesi is your captain, Dwayne Vermeulen, and Pieter-Steph Toy. As I say, very settled. And similar for New Zealand, Ethan de Groot, Cody Taylor, Tyrell Lomax, Brodie Retallick, Scott Barrett, Shannon Frizzell, Artie Severe, and Sam Cane. Experience on both sides, size on both sides, great scrummaging ability, great line-out ability. It's going to be super competitive in the forward battle. Now, where there might be some surprises here, guys, I have gone with a couple of little changes there for the Springboks. Now, I've selected Faf de Klerk and Handré Pollard there because I do think the style that New Zealand are going to play, and I'm going to give you a tip right now on the important factor here to remember, it's going to be ball in play. Ball in play time is going to determine, I think, go a long way to determining this game. The All Blacks had very high ball in play time against both Ireland and Argentina. I'm going to show you guys as part of my breakdown series how they achieve that and areas to focus on. Conversely, South Africa have had lower ball in play time. Against England, very low. Against, I think it was previous against Ireland, that game exceedingly low. It was like 27 minutes versus the All Blacks just had a record in this tournament of 43 minutes against Argentina. That is going to be a crucial, crucial detail. And how that is achieved by the All Blacks, I will explain in a future video, so make sure you stick with me for that. But what that means is that game managers are required. I spoke about having the resources available to do the right things on the field at the time, and I think this is going to be an 80-minute grind, and it requires your generals to be locked in for almost the full duration of this game, right? So Faf de Klerk and Handré Pollard get the nod from me. Damian Willems still provides a little bit of flexibility in the back. You know, it gives a bit of an attacking option, ensures that you can play with width, play with speed, and play with athleticism if you require it. On the All Blacks side, however, it's very much a settled lineup. Jordie Barrett is a centre. There he is with Reiko Ioane forming that centre pairing. We have the strike rate of Will Jordan. We have Beauden Barrett's experience. We have Mark Talia's, his ability to break tackles and perform in and close to the ruck. Fantastic. And then obviously we have Aaron Smith's experience. That is a settled lineup for the All Blacks. Couple of surprises on the bench. I've gone with a 6-2 split for the Springboks, and the reason is this game is going to require it. The All Blacks have a renewed focus on defense, on breakdown, on line out, and on set piece, and I think the Springboks forwards need to be really on their game to defend that. So, I have suggested we've got Oxenchair and Vincent Koch, obviously great performers there. Dion Fourie there with his flexibility between mutual roles. Ajay Sneeman will get a shot. I've gone with Marco van Staden here because I just think his ability to perform in and around the breakdown could be quite important. But let me know what you guys think about that performance. Quagga Smith, the ever-ready bunny, will be there with his sort of high work rate. Cobus Reineck will give you an opportunity to attack if you require it. And Villy LaRue with his experience. Good blend of obviously forward power to compete with the All Blacks in terms of the breakdown, line out, set piece, as well as a combination of attack and experience there between Reineck and LaRue. On the other side, we have experience for the All Blacks. Dane Coles, Sam Whitelock, and ALB, Anton Leonard-Brown. If you look at those three alone, they have over 300 caps, a huge amount of experience. Then we've got the young guns of Tamaiti Williams and Fletcher Newell. I spoke a little bit about them. These are names you're going to see for a very long time, guys. And I have gone with Cam Roigard instead of Finlay Christie. Now, Fozzie is favouring the defensive prowess of a Finlay Christie. And maybe that was appropriate, let's say, in the game against Ireland, albeit Smith got a rest with a yellow card, so he had an ability to play for the full game. Maybe it was a requirement against the likes of Argentina, although I thought Cam Roigard might have been better for exploiting gaps in and around the ruck. We have seen what Cam Roigard can do against the Springboks. The last game that the All Blacks faced, he was the real only shot that the All Blacks were able to fire. If you get into a shootout and need to put on points, then I think you need Roigard and McKenzie there to do so. You got enough experience, defensive organisation with the likes of ALB, with the likes of Sam Whitelock, and obviously with the likes of Dan Cole. So I just think they need to get the balance here between attacking prowess, defensive mindedness, experience, and youth. And that's why I suggest that Cam Roigard should be there. I've covered a huge amount of detail, guys, so I'm going to leave it there for now. This is only part one. So if you've enjoyed it, please stick with me. I'm going to drop an episode every single day. I'm going to cover, in a video, I really want to cover the defensive structures because I think they're going to be quite telling on how this is played. I'm going to cover off the set piece, the breakdown, obviously scrum and line. I really want to drill into that area because I think there's a lot of detail there. And ultimately, I'm going to predict the winner. So stick with me as I do that, guys. Much appreciated. And let's see who wins. I will see you guys soon.